So if we look at why we're not forgiving, it's just important why we look at how or why we do forgive. So once again, just connect to yourself because, we all have our own path, our own inner wisdom. I think there's some universality. So I'm offering up some, and you can see which ones land for you. We forgive because you are me. We forgive because it sets us free. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. We forgive when we recognize we are all human and we all miss. We forgive when we accept each other just as we are. But just to accept. And in that place, it's like, okay, do you know what? Hey, you give grace. It's compassionate. We forgive because we are forgiven. We forgive because we choose to wake up from the nightmare. We forgive by recognizing we're all doing the best we can. We forgive because it's a way of coming home. We forgive because, I forgive because it's completely selfish. It feels like an internal release. That constriction, it's like, it's a carrying of energy. Mm-hmm. We forgive because it hurts. I forgive because it hurts when I don't. And the same one, I forgive because I suffer when I don't. Mm-hmm. And we were mentioning about innocence earlier, but it's really a return and a recognition of our own and others' innocence and the goodness that's underneath all the conditioned layers.
Yes.
We forgive when there's willingness to self-reflect and see ourselves, and to recognize that we're all connected in this human experience. And we've all, if you're alive, we've had grace extended to us. And sometimes in the grit of life or the pain of life, we forget that. That's a beautiful notion.
That's a really gorgeous list that you put together.
And so you can ask yourself, when do you not forgive or when do you forgive? Because we all have unconscious competence of why we do what we do. Yeah. And what I really recognize when I look back on my lifetimes when I haven't forgave, it's usually in the righteousness or the, so-and-so wronged me. And then I'm usually, I was trouble talking or talking to somebody or spreading
to justify
to justification of righteousness. It feels yuck. It feels yuck inside to hold that energy. It's exhausting.
One thing that I've learned from you and Tony is I had never heard this before explained this way, but you guys say it, you say it from the front of the room in a seminar setting, but we use it around the house. And you'll say things like the units of energy that are being used. So I guess this would connect to why forgive. It's like, why forgive someone?
Yes.
Why can't I just carry this around? And you guys will often, I don't know why, for some reason, this just hit me different, that you'll say the units of energy that person is, that you're giving to that person or you're giving away or some people might language it like take your power back or, you're giving your power away when you do that. And you guys often put the words to it that it's units of energy. So if I'm going to choose to hold this resentment and, not forgive or whatever, some people might be like, no skin off my back. And it's like, you have to be willing to understand and admit that takes units of energy to you often call it uphold.
Yes.
You're holding this up.
Yes.
This identity of I'm mad at you. I don't forgive you. You did something wrong. You're wrong. However that comes out. And then I'm using energy to keep this posture of righteousness, of I don't forgive you, of you don't deserve to be forgiven. And how that affects. So why is forgiveness a gift to yourself? Because you're freeing up those units of energy that you can use to do something productive, creative, artistic, whatever it is that you want to be doing.
Yes. And if I'm not forgiving, if I'm holding on to something or a grudge or, living in resentment, that's depression for me. I'm just speaking for myself. It's exhausting. It's energy, and life is so precious, and it's hard enough navigating, life at times. We're either adding to the schism or adding to harmony. And we're opening or we're closing. There's themes to this human experience. And it's recognizing. And so for those of you who are listening, we've been sharing our own experiences and some practices. tune in and ask yourself, I don't think of maybe an individual in your life that you're feeling that stuck energy or you're having a difficult time forgiving. Maybe it's a sister or a brother or a coworker. And, a lot of times innocently, ego, has such conviction about things that we get so righteous that we miss, okay, hey, I've done that. Do you know what I mean? If you really look inside yourself, it's like, holy smokes, yeah, and so we're so angry at this individual for what they've said or the tone of voice of what they said it. Or I'm just using different examples of day to day. I'm using just day to day pieces. And so, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life or what to let go of or not, because what I do recognize is forgiveness is it's a natural state when we are in our, I call it right mind or in alignment with our heart.
Something that you just said reminded me of one little quote. And this is The Book of Forgiving by Desmond Tutu. And he wrote it with his daughter, The Fourfold Path of Healing Ourselves and Our World. And there was just one little, again, back to kind of the units of energy and who's holding the power of that. He writes, without forgiveness, we remain tethered to the person who harmed us. We are bound with chains of bitterness, tied up, trapped, until we can forgive the person who harmed us. That person holds the keys to our happiness. Like they, I don't know why for anyone who maybe needed to hear that.
Yes.
It's like, do you see that? You're pretty much saying, here's the keys to my happiness.
Yes.
You take them because I'm choosing not to go there. So they're all yours.
And we've all done that. We've all
chosen to do that because that feels what we should. That feels true right now until it doesn't.
Until it doesn't, and we all have the capacity to free ourselves. And I think that's the power of forgiving. It's giving to ourselves. It's giving to life. It blesses our families, and it allows us to be in right mind.
Beautifully said. We have covered a lot of ground here in the forgiveness, apologies, atonement, amends, everything under that umbrella. One thing you mentioned as a tool and something that you connect to is mental architecture. What do you mean by that?
Yes, of course. Okay, if you think of the originating thought that's creating you stress. So my sister was so harsh with me. She was cruel. And can you believe, like, she said what she said? Oh my gosh, I know. Do you know what? She's done that before. Building. Oh yeah, she always does that. Building. Like ego mind is building this architecture around it, the support system to prove itself right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's like she's, do you know what? You'll never believe it. Like I totally forgot about this, but 2 years ago, she did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, how dare she? So it's like we build all these,
structure.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. So it's not, if you notice, like our stories are usually, they begin with one single thought of suffering, and then mind builds what I call an art. Yes, like it builds like a support around it, and that creates even more clouded vision, confusion.
Beautifully said. Well, I think at this moment, maybe we could take some questions that have come in from Inner Circle.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, the first question was from Lauren, who wants to know, Sage, does forgiveness count if you forgive someone in your heart versus if you forgive someone face to face? Does it count?
That's a great question. Well, I can't say that what I'm saying is true, but it's my experience. Absolutely. We all have people that have passed, or maybe you have somebody that, 20 years ago, you had a circumstance that was hurtful or painful. And I think that's what's extraordinary when transcend mind. And I'll go back to last night. I was just reflecting and looking at different practices that I do. And I'll pray this simple prayer sometimes. Spirit in me connects to the spirit in you. I release you now. I forgive you. I bless you. Thank you. I find that to be so incredibly healing. And another one that I wrote that sometimes I'll say is, I invite, once again, if you're a believer, if you're agnostic, it's really, we're speaking to the source that breathes us life. So I invoke the light of God. I invoke the light of creation. Bless all whom I've ever wronged in any way. And for all who have ever wronged me, bless them. I release them now. I release me now. Because, there's that dance, that dynamic that as we're releasing others, we're releasing ourselves. And as we release ourselves, we're releasing others. As I let you off the hook, I let me off the hook. As I let myself off the hook, I let you off the hook. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe my experience, it would be yes.
Yes. I also love the way you do ancestral yes. like clearings, and like we'll do Ho'oponopono on ancestors, mm-hmm. and you do it on your parents, your grandparents, the parents, because like we said,
yes,
people's impressions and their references from life mm-hmm. that are passed down that make us mm-hmm. make the choices and have the behaviors, act out the behaviors that we are, oftentimes are sources that could use some compassion and forgiveness.
Absolutely.
And clearing.
Absolutely. And, if you think of life, we're iterating, we're evolving. And so, I better get this, tidied up internally.
Tidied up.
Or freed up, cleared up, opened up, so that we can be in the world and not be affected by those great waves of confusion.
Perfect. Can we go to the next one?
Of course.
The next question is from Niraj.
Niraj? Hi, Niraj.
Writes, how does one get the real feeling of forgiveness in the heart rather than the mental talk of forgiveness?
That's a great question. Well, if I say if we just have discord mm-hmm. and I'm like, hey, Mary, yeah, sorry about that. Mm-hmm. And I walk out. So maybe I said
lip service.
Yeah. I said it could be a little bit placating. It's insincere. You're saying it because possibly you think you should say it. And by the way, I've done that. So I know what it feels like. I know what it looks like. Or you're saying it because you're going to be seeing them later for dinner, and you want the drama to stop. That's one path. So that's when, anytime that I've done that in my life, it's lacking like the openness, the inner freedom, But when forgiveness comes from compassion, because we recognize, holy frick, I've been blind too. Mm-hmm. Me too. I've been so unconscious, and I've been harsh, and I've probably came across mean or crazy, or and sometimes even in a moment, if I'm apologizing, sometimes I won't even be specific. Sometimes I'll say like, honey, I'm so sorry. I'm not my best self right now, and how I just came across, I'm sorry. That wasn't cool. Please forgive me. And it's, or I'm sorry. I was sometimes, and it's I'll give context to things. It's like, honey, do you know what? I was coming down, and I was quick, and I didn't feel like I fully connected to you. And can we begin again? Mm-hmm. Can we reset? That's another thing that we do a lot, is the other day, I came in and I was like, Mayor, can we reset? I'm sorry if in that moment I wasn't my best self. And you were so kind. You were like, of course. And but it wasn't just of course, it was like, of course. Mm-hmm. And from that place, when one person goes first, and I don't know, if we wait for the other person to do it, once again, it gets weird, expectation. And we think, why aren't they saying sorry? Well, when is he or she going to come and be like, hello? And they don't come. And so we can sit there and be mad about it, resent that they're not coming,
right,
or they're not calling, or we can just simply go first. I find that path much easier. Mm-hmm. Did that answer the question?
I think it did. It did. How does one get the real feeling of forgiveness? Like for me too, I see how it's affecting us, if it's us, or you, or like, to me, to get the real feeling is just either walk in someone else's shoes mm-hmm. or flip it around and look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. Every situation is just a house of mirrors.
Yes.
So I think getting in touch with where do we do that is a good place to get the feeling in our heart.
Yeah. Our self-awareness and self-reflection. That's responsibility. And that's a life of freedom, because we're all sovereign beings. We're all autonomous. We all have the capacity and the gift to use our thoughts constructively or destructively.
Beautiful. Okay, the fourth question we have here is from Demetra.
Hi, Demetra.
Who writes, as children, do we have to forgive our parents for the way they treated us, or do we have to accept them as they are?
Well, if you were sitting in front of me, I might ask, what does your heart say? We don't have to do anything. I think that's a gift of life as autonomous humans. We don't have to do anything. So I'd say that the answer is no, you don't have to. If it was me, I'd check in and ask, what does that feel like to not forgive your parents? What does that feel like when you look at them? What does that feel like when you think about them? What does that feel like when you hear their voice? And if you're not as connected intimately and closely as you would like, from my own experience, you don't even have to say anything. You don't have to say, Mom, I forgive you. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. Mm-hmm. You can just continue to do your self-reflection. You can use one of these practices, inquiry or ho'oponopono, or none of them, or find something that's true for you, or hold them in prayer, or do a process of release. And as you have your practices of whether it be meditation and prayerfulness that guides your, self back to source or back to your nature, back to alignment, it's from that place that this is possible. And so the answer is you don't have to, but it's, from my experience, kinder and saner when I do.
Well said. Okay, we got one more.
Okay.
This one's from Paula.
Paula?
Paula.
Hi, Paula.
Who writes, I would love to know how to accept that you decide to forgive and move on. At times I wonder if forgiving and staying is the right decision. I know forgiveness is necessary for my own peace, but at times I wonder if forgiving and staying is the right decision. How do you know if forgiving means stay or leave?
That's a beautiful question. Well, I don't know that they're mutually exclusive, and I don't even know that that's the right way to say it. I think why not forgive? Okay, why not forgive? Because it frees you to do so, and you feel that inner spaciousness. And then from that place of alignment, from that place of connectedness to life and to your partner, you can decide whether staying is true for you or not. Mm-hmm. But then you're not leaving because you're pissed, or you're not leaving because they wronged you, or you're not leaving because you've had an argument or something. Right. You're leaving because it's true in your heart that it's just time, right. And that's so kind. That's so beautiful. And so I think you can forgive and stay, or you can forgive and kindly and consciously leave. But it doesn't have to be from a place of blame or judging another. It can actually be from a place of you can leave and be connected, from a place of understanding one another. That's beautiful.
Right. Different than like a flight response or something. If you can clear with that human and then consciously decide, okay, what's true for me now?
Yes. Yes. I look back at myself as a younger version of myself. And I remember in my first marriage, didn't have the same wisdom that I have today. And a lot of emotion and emotionality and drama around that decision was really unnecessary. I had a love for him. I know he had a love for me. I chose, it was true for my own life's journey, and I felt as well for him. But I can't decide that for him. Mm-hmm. And I made that decision. That decision was being true to my own heart. And I mean, I wish nothing but happiness for him and bless him, and yet didn't have the words or the understanding or the inner clarity to be able to articulate that away, like I do today. But what's beautiful is life gives us an opportunity after 20 some odd years. I had the opportunity maybe about a year ago to speak to him, and it was just kind. It's we don't spend 10 years or 7 years, even if you think they're a total jerk, even if they, hurt you. If you've shared a big chunk of life together, there's those ties.
Yep. That version of yourself, that version of themselves.
Yes.
Giving people time. Mm-hmm. You said evolve, evolution earlier, and grow and become.
Yes. And from that place, the grace for yourself and for them. So I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way, but I can just share my own experience. I left from, I wasn't in a whole state of mind and heart when I left the first time in my first marriage.
That's honest.
But yet my heart is actually completely open and forgiving and in gratitude for the experience of that stage of my life. But I didn't have that understanding. But it feels freer and feels truer for myself. And it was kind to be able to at least somewhat articulate that.
Beautiful. Well, we've talked about tools and ways that you can reach folks.
Yes.
That maybe are from the past relationships, parents, alive, or on the other side. We hope that you take some of these tools and for yourself.
Yes.
Create some space, free up some units of energy. So if there's someone that you need to reach out to, make a call, write a letter.
Yes. And know that it doesn't have to be a phone call. This can be in the silence in the interior of your own mind and heart. This can be in your meditation. This can be through prayer. It can be through a phone call. And the remembrance that there's no ask in it. It's forgiving. It's just an offering. It's an allowance. It's an acceptance of yourself, of the other. And I'm really sorry I missed. I love you. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for taking this path with us here today and for tuning in. Thank you for your generous hearts, and thank you for staying with us so long. God bless, and we look forward to coming again.
See you next time.
Thank you, Mary B.
Thank you, Sage.
Thank you for your vulnerability and for this conversation. Amen. Okay, well, let's do a meditation together.
Okay.
So those of you who are
do?
listening, you can follow along. And you can think of an individual possibly that maybe you've had resistance with or you've had a challenge forgiving. And you can pray along or speak along or share this sentiment or this intention. Spirit in me connects to the spirit of you. I release you. I forgive you. I bless you. Thank you. And then as you close your eyes, you can simply picture them in golden light or whatever you see, whatever comes. Could be blue light, could be violet light. There's no right or wrong. And then drop that image. Follow your breath. Be aware of as you're breathing, sometimes as we're meditating, as we're sitting in a process, just find the spaces where there's tension. Find the spaces where there's resistance. Allow your breath to breathe into those spaces. As you inhale, we're inhaling the gift and the miracle of life this moment. And as we exhale, simply letting go. As your body is breathed in this moment, we let go now. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so, these are all ways to connect to what's true for you and inviting yourself to a space that's nourishing. Because it's in that tenderness, it's in that gentleness with yourself, never mind with others, that we're able to let each other off the hook. Because it's kind. It's kind, and we're able to let each other off the hook because we recognize we're all not so different.
Yep. You use that phrase all the time, and just the other night, I had do you ever have those moments that you're just you just see it differently, like something that's said or your own life, and it feels almost like cartoonish. And I think I was going through something in my own life with my own family and brothers and sisters or something, and for some reason I saw little mouse, you put them on a hook. When you say I am choosing to give someone a cold shoulder or something, how that feels. It might feel a flush of energy and excitement or righteousness. And then after a while, it's How long are you going to leave them on the hook? Like, when will you decide to take them off the hook? That's basically what we're saying. Like, she's Sage, you're asking, if we don't forgive, why don't we forgive? Like, how much time it needs to elapse for you to say, now I can take you off the hook. Or maybe it's a never, but like, think about it another way. Make it funny if you have to. Don't picture that person and keep seeing what they did to you or what you perceive that to be. Make it, scramble it a little bit. Picture you putting something on a hook and like, hey, when should we let them down? I picture their little legs like, I'm sorry, please forgive me. When is it okay to be like, enough is enough?
Unless you're, I don't know, you have, a completely awakened Buddha consciousness and you're loving every moment. I don't claim I do. I don't. And so how can we, demonize another for doing exactly what we do?
Right.
I close sometimes. I open sometimes. I look to come home. I look to use these practices. We look to use these practices to come home. And it's completely selfish because I want to feel that connectedness with life, never mind connectedness with myself. And so it's like tidying up our house. If my house is a mess, if my room's a mess, and I can be guilty of that, I look to tidy it up.
Yep.
Why? To bring order, to bring coherence. It's the same thing in our internal game. And sometimes that's missed in the understanding that we all meet in this. And as human beings, we all have the power to rise above the thoughts that are causing such disturbance or such pain inside of ourselves.
It's true. Beautifully said.